There we go. Okay, we're back, and we're going to talk with Phalecia about growing her business in on the EEO side of the house, because she's previously been on the HR side of the house. Now, one of the things I want to clarify here for most people, don't get it twisted. We are not DEI, okay? We are civil rights. We are Title VII. That's where we get our superpowers from, if you want to call it that. And if you want to go back even further, we have biblical authority as well as constitutional authority. So when you pull both of those documents, they talk about, equity, justice and fairness and all that. And that is us. And no discrimination and divisions. That's us. DEI is different. And I believe DEI was created more as a corporate policy type thing. But we are actually the laws. So we cover no discrimination based on race, age, sex, disability, and something else. And a few, of course, hostile work environment and harassment. Those are real biggies. So that's what we do. But so what we do here, we kind of have a spin on it, because we help people to get into the business of civil rights, whether they're working as independent contractors or as businesses that are providing the services to the government, bidding on contracts and so forth. And so once they get in on the side of the house, they can actually grow into other areas of the government, because the United States government buys everything. I think there are $700 billion spending per year or more and services, goods and services. That's what they do. They buy a lot of them from small businesses too, like most of us. We are small businesses. They have different programs, such as the 8A program, the small disadvantaged business, women-owned small businesses, veteran-owned businesses, Hub Zone, etc., to help small businesses compete and to get contracts so that they can continue to grow their businesses. Okay, so having said all of that, all right, Ms. Phalecia, so now that you're on the EEO side of the house, what are you going to do with all of the skills you've picked up recently and so forth?
Well, right now, my main focus obviously is to execute well on the contract that I was awarded.
Yes.
I've already been assigned 3 cases.
All right,
yay! I'm working right now.
All right, cool.
So I'm working to do that very well. And then one of the things that came up in the training, someone asked about, doing mediations. And so I am a certified mediator as well. And so I know that there's an opportunity for that. And I also know there's an opportunity for drafting the final agency decision. So I just looked at it, holistically, and thought about all of the ways that I could, have a stream of income within the same pool and not have to deviate, and how all of those different skills play on each other.
Yes.
And then, professionally, I've had to facilitate different trainings, and that was another area that I worked with your team to do. And so I know down the line that could also be another opportunity to conduct some level of training in that. But right now I'm really just wanting to focus on getting my head wrapped around how to get a system to crank out the investigations efficiently. I don't want to just get them out, but I want to do them well. So yeah, that's where I'm headed.
All right, that's great. Well, you're doing us proud, and you're doing yourself proud too. I'd like to add, because that's an excellent strategy, growth strategy. Because a lot of people will come in and they will start doing investigations, and ideally, if you can start out as an EEO counselor or a trainer to get used to the concepts and slowly ease into being an investigator, that's ideal. But with the Postal Service, they purposely put out investigator contracts because we have so many investigations that need to be completed. So, but it's smart to start out that way, get your foot in the door, and then bring all your other skills so that you can continue to grow. Because you took the counselor course too, right? The
I
counselor, did you
did
take the,
took the
yeah,
counselor course
yes.
and the investigator course.
Right. Yes. Yeah. She took the counselor investigator, and you're now doing the FAD writing, final
Yep.
agency decision writing. And
Getting
that's
ready to wrap,
excellent.
getting ready to
Yes.
wrap up on that.
Yes. 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 And so we're going to be rolling out some webinars so that people can be designated as EEO specialists. And
Oh,
so I think you've got quite a few. You got about 4 of them. I think you got maybe 2 more courses to offer you, but yeah, to put you in a specialist category. And so, as they say, your stock, your value goes up with that,
that's
as
right.
you have to be, like you said, multiple revenue streams. When you have your own business, you can make it out here, you can do this, but you have to be multifaceted and have different, lines of business, because if you just, and we know in the HR world, if you just do investigations, you're going to burn yourself out. Now, some people, okay, that's all they want to do, but I would dare to say you're probably going to be burnt out in no time, especially if you're doing a lot of cases. So,
Yeah.
yep. So, yeah, that's really great. Brenda, did you have another question or comment?
Through all of your training with Preempt, what did you find the most challenging?
I would say probably the FAD writing. And I don't know if it's I can't really it's probably for more than one reason. I know that all of it is a really big deal, but that's definitely a different, it's a different aspect in the whole EEO complaint process.
Yeah.
And that's the one that in my opinion, I guess, has most, it's the heaviest.
The heaviest.
The
Yes,
most,
it is.
it's
You're
lawyer
right.
heavy kind of a
Yes,
situation. And
it
so
is.
it's
Legal
not
writing.
something that you can just
Whip out.
breeze through. You have
Yeah.
to really be attentive, and
Mhm.
so yeah, so I think it's that, and that's why, I even had to listen to the recording a few times before I could even say, okay, I think I'm ready, just because I had so much going on and I wanted to really make sure I understood. So I think that's the most challenging, but just because of where it is in the overall process.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an excellent assessment.
Yeah.
And certainly when we do the webinar on the FAD, you can come back and sit in on that since you've already purchased the course. But yeah, it may help you a little bit more in terms of seeing it live. And that's one of the reasons why we said we wanted to go live, because that one is a little bit more intense. And yeah, I think it helps to, kind of do a little bit of that live. So yeah, that's great. Okay. Yep, that's perfect. All right. Now, before we go to a break, I just wanted to talk about the requirements for the Postal Service to get your contract. We know that the first part, of course, you have to get a certain score on your proposal. I call it your assessment proposal. And what's that score of, Phalecia? Was it 85%? I think about 85%.
I can't remember what the score is, because I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't even, if they told me what it was after the training piece, but
Okay.
you definitely have to, you're graded. You're
Yes.
graded and you
Great.
don't know you're being graded. So
Yes.
definitely
Yes.
have to
Yes. Right.
follow the directions in the solicitation explicitly.
Yes. Yes. That's funny you should say that, because that is part of the government proposal writing test. Is can you follow directions precisely? And like I told them, I said, when you see government proposals, you may look at that and say, well, they asked the same question 10 times. If they ask the question 10 times, they want you to answer it 10 times. Yes. So you don't take liberties with their stuff. That's just the way they write them. It's the nature of the beast. That's it. So yes, you're absolutely right. You definitely have to pay attention, and you want to get as many points as you can.
Absolutely.
You don't want to give away anything, because like she said, you're being graded. And I think you have to have at least an 85% or 80% somewhere in that zone for the first part. So basically it's 3 parts. The first part's the proposal. The second part is the intense training. And what was that, 7 to 10 days, Phalecia?
7 days.
7 days. 7 days intense training, and it's virtual. Everything is virtual. We do work virtually. We don't do work on site. So now the 7 to 10 day training, and I'm gonna come back to that because that's, you know, that's more to talk about. But you also are required to complete a public trust document. That's the SF-85P, I believe it is. And you can Google that online and see what that looks like. And you must answer it truthfully. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get hired. It's just that if you mislead them or whatever, then you violate the public trust and you won't make it to the next step. So, and it's not based on your credit or anything like that. You just have to disclose information. It is not a secret clearance. So that's SF-86. That's what we've had in the past. And also you're required to be fingerprinted too, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, fingerprinted
And
as well.
Drug tested.
And drug tested. I thought drug tested was in there. Okay, drug testing was in there. Okay, yep. And then also, I know you're required to be a U.S. citizen, and I think they can take people that are naturalized citizens or something like that. I did see that in the FAQs. Oh. Yeah, so I think you can. Yep, I think they can. But anyway. Okay, so before we go to break, let's talk about that training. How was that training? I mean, like, what did you do? How was it? Was it a scavenger hunt or something that I think they said, or
so part of the solicitation or responding to that is the scavenger hunt. You have to find things on their in their portal. Okay. And a lot of it, I think, is just driven towards finding out who's teachable, who pays attention, and who reads. Because
reads,
really,
yes,
it's really simple. But you know, if you're a skimmer and not a reader, you probably will miss something.
Yes, details.
So you're doing that, and that is also graded. You find that out once you're invited to the training. But the training is 7 days, 7 business days, and it's, as you mentioned, it's on Zoom. You don't have to have your camera on, but you definitely have to pay attention. It's not the kind of Zoom where, because your camera isn't on, you can multitask and do things in the background or walk away. You get breaks and things like that. But the trainers, they're very they're very experienced in making sure to, you know, constantly take roll. And you just have to remember the whole time that you're there, you know, even though you've been notified that your proposal has been accepted and advanced you to this part, it's still not a sealed deal. You're still being graded.
That's a good point.
And even how you interact in class. If you're not, you can tell when people aren't paying attention. They ask questions that have been answered already, and things like that. But the format of the training is that, you know, teach you something, teach you a concept, then you practice with the group, then practice, you have a graded assignment, and you have homework every night. So it's very intense, but when you think about what the work that you're doing, you understand why. You want to make sure, they want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Right. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we talked about that today at a meeting too. People understanding the elements and so forth, and that, like I said, this is not DEI. This is civil rights. This is law. This is, you know, statutes and regulations, and so the standards, and you have to understand what's the prima facie case. And when you're conducting an investigation, you have to make sure you cover all those elements, you know, during the investigation. So you really do have to pay attention, and because that's, you know, that's how they make their money too, is by completing cases. And they're one of the largest, I call them a government contractor, although it's an agency, but they are one of the largest government contractors, I would say. And they do a lot of investigations for various agencies. There are a lot of small businesses that do this work as well too, but they do them, like I said, volumes, and they have a process that they stick to, which is good. It's excellent because that's how you do this kind of work to make sure you're not missing anything. So yeah, that's very important. Yeah, I think somebody had mentioned that had completed the training. They said, make sure if you have your pets, you want to board them because they didn't even have time to walk their pets. They were so busy, going through the training, but it's worth it. I mean, if somebody's going to give you some free training like that, it's an investment. You better pay attention.
Absolutely. Free training to do.
That's right.
What could almost potentially be called an endless supply of work.
Yes. Amen. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
You would be.
That's right, Phalecia.
Time well spent paying attention.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. It's an investment. That's it. Free. Did I say free? Because if you don't go to the Postal Service, if you come see us, you got to pay for the training. We'll work with you, but you're gonna have to pay for it. And if you go work with one of our teaming partners, he's not going to train you. He's going to tell you go back to PREEMPT, get some training, get them to coach you up, and then I'll give you a case. But you got to bring it. You got to bring it. And because we were laughing today, I said, yeah, it's like investigator malpractice. When you do not do the work in accordance with the standard of care for your industry, you're supposed to know the prima facie elements, when you're conducting an interview and you're supposed to ask those questions to elicit those factual responses, and the other good thing about the work that we do on with the government is it's in an administrative arena. So you do not render findings. You just develop the facts. It's just the facts. You're just developing the facts. So that's all you have to do. Don't come into this side talking about, okay, I'm going to make the decision whether or not it's sexual harassment or race discrimination or whatever. You just have to develop the factual record, request the right documents, put them in the files, and everything is done digitally. So and we do have training for that. If you haven't done the Adobe digitizing of documents, we offer training because that's the way we move things. So you have to be able to do it. And I'm sure Phalecia knows when she went through the training, if you didn't know Adobe, man, you were you were in trouble.
Well, you are in trouble. And in responding to the solicitation, it does ask you. So you want to be honest about what your level of knowledge and expertise is in that. It's not I don't think it's a deal breaker if you don't know it, but it's definitely a deal breaker if you don't get it.
That's right.
And what I wanted to chime in on something you just said a minute ago about being an investigator, you're just gathering the facts and you're not doing a finding. It's also probably one of the motivators. Brenda, going back to your question, asking me, why did I do this? So in my role as an HR business partner, I'm on the side of, if a complaint has been raised, I am working with the manager to help respond to it. It's a little bit deeper on that side. I have to investigate if something happened, and I have to also determine if it's substantiated, and then we have to work through all of the corrective action and all of those different things. Yes. So that was another thing that came out in the 32-hour training, because I think Wanda and Dorian kind of stressed, this is your role. Your role is just to gather the facts. And so for me, that was a cakewalk. Oh, I just have to ask the right questions.
That's right.
And it's record it. Oh, I just have to request the right documents. I can do that. So
it is. You're right. It's a cakewalk. That's the difference between private sector investigations and the government, in the administrative forum. We don't have to render findings and all that and going back and forth. They have one of the most elaborate EEO processes. They really do. And a lot of times people represent themselves with their discrimination cases. The thing about it, though, it's a lengthy process, too, from beginning to end, from the counselor all the way up to the final agency decision, and then, to go to the EEOC to get relief, and then maybe the federal courts or whatever. So it is a very lengthy process, but usually I shouldn't say usually, but sometimes during the process, they are able to reach some kind of resolutions through mediation, through ADR and so forth. So we're going to take our last break, and then we're going to come back and wrap it up with final comments. Thank you. Okay. Yep.